Into the service, which is about to begin.
715 is greatly documented, facing virulent racism throughout his career, and especially going after the record, but handling it all with grace, again, and humility and dignity. So once again, we're going to send you to Atlanta for this memorial service to honor the life of one of the all-time greats and one of the great athletes in the history of North American sports, and try to pay a proper tribute to Hank Aaron. We are also going to look back at going for 715 home runs and look back at his all-time great records and his life. But right now, we are ready to go. We send you to Atlanta and Truist Park.
Ball player, the finest gentleman, Mr. Hank Aaron.
A hero is someone that is admired for their courage, outstanding achievements, and noble qualities. If anyone deserves that title, it's our beloved Henry Hank Aaron.
It's gone! It's 7:15! There's a new home run champion of all time, and it's Henry Aaron!
The home run king broke barriers and had a decorated career beyond any other. A two-time batting title winner, 3 Gold Gloves, 25 All-Star selections, a World Series title, an MVP recipient, and a Hall of Famer.
It reminds of us to play baseball. If we're in baseball, Hank is the king, and he'll always be the king.
His achievements are well known, but through his long, illustrious career, he was a model of humility, dignity, and quiet competence. He was a humanitarian whose courage and nobility went beyond the diamond. He didn't seek adoration, but he earned it. It was everything an athlete and a person should be. Excellence in the face of adversity.
What a marvelous moment for baseball. What a marvelous moment for Atlanta and the state of Georgia. What a marvelous moment for the country and the world.
Hammer and Hank has shaped who we are, and Braves country will forever be grateful. Thank you, 44. May your legacy live on as you rest in peace.
Good afternoon, and welcome to Truist Park. What an amazing setting here. For those who are watching on television, we're inside Monument Garden. We're directly behind home plate to honor our friend, our hero, and our legend. Fittingly, we are beside this beautiful statue as we begin the first of 2 days of celebrations to honor the life of our dear friend, husband, father, and grandfather, Hank Aaron. I want to welcome the Aaron family here today. The outpouring of love and memories hopefully has been comforting to you. I know it's been for me. Billy, thank you for sharing Hank with all of us for all these years. And again, welcome to your beautiful family. I also want to welcome the Commissioner of Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred, and Hank's great friends, Ambassador Andy Young and his wife, Carolyn, and Linda and Sam Gully. And welcome to Ruby Lucas and her wonderful family, and of course, the Braves' own extended family, players who played with Hank, and more recent players who were lucky to speak with Hank every spring training and pick his brain. I also want to acknowledge Hank's long-term assistant, Susan Bailey, and his trusted sidekick for the last several years, Cedric Reed. To finish up the introductions, I want to thank the entire Braves organization, led by Derek Schiller, for putting this all together on such short notice. It was truly a labor of love. And also one program note. Ted Turner was supposed to be with us today, but for unforeseen circumstances, he's prevented from being here. He asked me to pass along his love for Billy and the Aaron family. And he said his heart is broken that he couldn't be here to say it himself. You know, the last several years, and especially, the last several weeks, have been a very difficult one for this organization. We lost our dear friend, Bill Bartholomew. Mr. B brought the Braves from Milwaukee to Atlanta in '66 and was a lifelong friend of Hank's and to everyone in this organization. And we've also lost Hall of Famers Phil Negro and Don Sutton in just a few weeks apart. While all this is very sobering, I'm delighted to think they're all together again today, telling some great stories. And I'm pretty certain that that group has had a pretty good effect on the weather today, given that we're outdoors and it could have been a range of possibilities. You know, over the last several days, Hank's list of on-field accomplishments has been mentioned repeatedly, and rightfully so, because it's hard to fathom the depth of talent and the fact that he still holds a few of some of these records 40 years plus after he retired. Just a few. He's still the all-time RBI leader with 2,297 RBIs. The all-time extra base hits leader with 1,477, and the total base leader of all time with a confounding 6,856 bases. And one of my favorite stats, if you were to take away all 755 of his home runs, Hank would still have over 3,000 hits. Truly remarkable. To us, though, he will always be known as our home run king. And for our organization, Hank was much more than those stats, much more than the greatest ball player of all time. He helped guide our organization ever since his playing days ended. I love hearing the stories about players first meeting Hank and the reverence they felt being around him. But once they were able to speak to him, it was his knowledge and respect for the game which always stood out. Doing things the right way was one of his mantras. The saying on the front of today's program, which is also on one of these pillars here, reads, quote, "What you do with your life and how you do it is not only a reflection on you, but on your family and all those institutions that have helped to make you who you are." Those words have resonated within our organization for decades and are reflected in our clubhouse today. Just as important as his guidance for our organization has been, his extraordinary community outreach and philanthropy has surpassed any major league record he attained. Pretty amazing. Billy and Hank have made sure the community is a better place, whether it be through his business acumen, their Chasing the Dream Foundation and the scholarships they have provided, or the substantial financial donations they have made to educational institutions. The world, not just Alabama, Milwaukee, or Atlanta, the world is a better place because of Henry, Louis, Aaron, and Billy. And now I'd like to introduce Hank's friend and my good friend, the Commissioner of Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred.
Good afternoon. On behalf of Major League Baseball and our 30 clubs, I want to extend my deepest condolences to Billy, the Aaron children and grandchildren, and your entire family. Sadly, we have bid farewell to 10 Hall of Famers since last April. The man we gathered to remember today belongs on our sport's Mount Rushmore. He stood on and off the field above all others. While he made his name here in Atlanta and in Milwaukee, his loss has been felt across our great nation. Henry Aaron was a giant of a man. His accomplishments were quite literally the stuff of legends. Terry and I must be listening to the same broadcast because I do think it's amazing that even if you ignore his 755 home runs, he still had 3,000 hits. He was also unbelievably durable. He was an all-star every year between 1955 and 1975. But there was so much more to Hank Aaron than his feats on the field. Hank Aaron was not just a great player, he was truly a great man. Hank Aaron carried himself with a sense of dignity. When you were around Hank, you could sense an aura of greatness, and people were naturally drawn to that aura. The great Muhammad Ali once said that Hank was the only man I idolized more than myself. Hank Aaron was humble. I knew Hank for more than 2 decades, and I never once heard him talk about his own accomplishments on the field. In fact, when others would talk about Hank's great career, he would acknowledge that conversation only with that wonderful smile of his. Hank's humility allowed him to be generous in his praise of others. Each year at the World Series, Hank would award the award that's named after him to 2 of our great major league players, and he would offer a really genuine commentary on the performance of those 2 players. It was that personal commentary from Hank that made the award that bears his name so coveted by all of our players. Hank Aaron was an agent of change in our society. As he chased Babe Ruth's record, he received vile, racist threats. Through that wrenching period, he courageously demonstrated the strength to keep going. He persevered and delivered to all African Americans an accomplishment in which they could take great pride. He also delivered to his racist detractors the message that greatness in a man from the Deep South, a black man from the Deep South, could not be suppressed. Just as Jackie Robinson was the perfect person to change our game forever in 1947, Hank Aaron was the perfect person to meet the historic moment that he created in 1974. Hank Aaron was an educator. 2 years ago, we decided to rename our premier youth event, the Elite Development Invitational, as the Hank Aaron Invitational. We had a nice press conference, made the announcement, and continued with our planning for the event. As the event drew near, the phone rang in my office, and it was Mr. Aaron. I assumed that he wanted to talk about the baseball activities that lay at the heart of the Invitational. But I was wrong. Henry wanted to know about the educational part of our program, the historic sites that we planned for the participants to visit, the activities that we had planned off the baseball field, and most important, the lessons we were trying to teach and the values we were trying to instill. Hank truly cared about the next generation. In his philanthropy and his business endeavor, this celebrated power hitter was all about empowering others. In closing, I hope you will indulge me in a personal observation. I knew Hank Aaron for more than 2 decades. Our relationship was a true honor and pleasure for me. It was an honor to know one of the best, if not the best player of all time. It was a pleasure to spend time with a man of humility and dignity who helped change America, and have that man share just a little bit of himself with me. Billy, thank you for sharing Hank with us, and again, my deepest condolences.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the Glavin family, I would like to offer my condolences to the Aaron family for your loss. In 1984, when I was drafted by the Braves, I didn't know much about the organization, but I certainly knew who Henry Aaron was. And as a minor league player in those days, and Mr. Aaron being ahead of the minor leagues, it was always neat to see him around, and you always hoped he was going to say hi to you or have some passing conversation with you. You certainly wanted to avoid the conversation in Mr. Aaron's office because that usually meant you were either in trouble or you were going home, so you tried to avoid that one at all costs. Having the opportunity to get to know Mr. Aaron a little bit more over the subsequent years, and certainly the last few years at the Hall of Fame, I always felt like I was in the presence of greatness, but I was always struck by how humble Mr. Aaron was. He would never let you know that he was arguably the greatest baseball player of all time. He was a great ambassador for the game. He was a great ambassador for the Braves organization, and he will be missed. We've all seen the movie Field of Dreams. If there is a baseball team in heaven, they just picked up a heck of a cleanup hitter. Rest in peace, Mr. Aaron. We'll miss you.
I have been so lucky to wear this uniform for over 20 years and live in Atlanta. And as a former Atlanta Brave, saddened to hear about Hank's passing, but I promise you, Hank's memory will live forever. Baseball won't forget, Atlanta won't forget, because he's the greatest Atlanta Brave in the history of baseball. When I think of Hank Aaron, I think of all the memories of the greatest home run hitter to ever live. But more importantly, intimately, I got to see him every year. When we went to spring training, he was there in the background, so unassuming, handshake available, a warm smile, and he couldn't wait for baseball to be played. Hank, no doubt, is the ambassador of the Atlanta Braves. But what he was he made an impact in your life as a baseball player or even away from the game. Hank will never be forgotten in the Hall of Fame, as he was the ambassador of a group that I never thought I'd be part of. To see Hank every year was truly, I felt like a little kid that had chills walking up to Mr. Aaron as a fan of the game, but realized I got to play and wear the same uniform he did. Here's the image that I have in my mind when I think of Hank Aaron. Truist Park gets opened up, and all the past Braves get a chance to walk out to their positions to open up a brand new park in Atlanta. And what is that image that we will all remember? We will remember at home plate, Hank getting out of a car, putting down home plate to establish the new era of Truist Park. The other image that I'll never forget is actually at the Hall of Fame when we were all gathered to take the yearly picture after the ceremony. Well, it was Frank Robinson, Joe Morgan, and Hank Aaron. They were at the top step of the Otesaga, making their way down to the podium to get the picture taken. All three in walkers. All three making their way down, and somebody decided to make it a race-like event by announcing down the stretch they come. And with about 10 to 20 yards to go, the look in Hank's eye, I'll never forget. He's got this. And at the last 10 yards, he was the first to get there as the three immortal Hall of Famers were making their way to that picture. You see, Hank played in an era where you can't even imagine what he had to go through and what he had to overcome and persevere. He played with a very bumpy road in his journey, but that road he paved for others to follow is a lot smoother than it was. Hank is a pioneer that will forever be etched in the Hall of Fame, baseball, and the Atlanta Braves. Miss you, my man, and I will never, ever forget you.
Thank you. I was driving home last Friday from a doctor appointment and got a call that Hank had passed. We had lost another one of our Braves family. Too many in the past year. But this one was different for me. Because you see, the reason I'm here today is Hank Aaron. Hank gave me the opportunity to continue a career that had started out as a fill-in player on a rookie league roster. I was playing in Savannah, Georgia for our AA team. It was pretty evident I wasn't going any further in my career. I was called into the office one day, and Hank offered me a chance to continue my career by going to Bradenton, Florida, to work with the rookie league team. That was better than just getting released and going home, so I went. Eventually, he gave me a chance to manage in the Braves organization, and that's where I got to see him for the person he was, got to know him and work with him. None of us ever felt like we were working for Hank, always with him. He'd sit in the coach's room in spring training in West Palm Beach with us and tell stories. We'd all grill him about the toughest guys he had faced about his experiences, and just about being Hank Aaron. He never was about himself. He never talked about his accomplishments. There was always a humility and humbleness about him. I remember asking him once when we were sitting in there, I said, "Hank, how many All-Star games did you play in?" He said 24. I said, "Wow." After I became manager of the Braves, I asked him how many spring training games he would play in every year. His answer, all of them. He gave me my first managing job in 1982. It was in Anderson, South Carolina. I was nervous enough about having my own team to be responsible for. So to compound matters, Hank put his son Larry and Bill Lucas, son of the late Braves GM, on the team. You talk about pressure your first year. And they were two wonderful young men. But never once did Hank call and demand that I play them or do anything else that I wouldn't have done with any other player on the team. The trust he showed had a big impact on me as a young manager. Hank would never call without first asking how you were doing, how the family was, or if I needed anything. Then we'd talk about the team. In his role as farm director, he developed young managers and coaches, and in return allowed us to develop the players he entrusted to us. We all wanted to do well for him and reward that trust. I was sitting last night at home and I got a phone call. And it was from Sam Ayub, a long trainer in AAA in Richmond. Sam was there for years. Sam's in a nursing home now, but I've never heard him more excited and full of energy because he wanted to call and talk about Hank. He was asking about the services and you know, and something that stuck with me, because he told me that anytime Hank would come to the minor leagues, that he would come in his office and sit and talk. And that was the man. And he said something, he said, you know, Hank was always for the little guy, the managers, the coaches, the trainers. And Hank was really for those players that weren't the bonus babies. Every year at the half, he'd call and he would always want to move a player up. And he preferred that it wasn't the so-called bonus babies. He wanted to get that grinder guy, the guy that was overachieving, and he wanted to show everybody else that if you do good, that you'll get moved. Since I've been Braves manager, I've called on him to talk about or to a particular player for me. I often asked his advice on how to handle certain situations, and any time I called, he was always ready to help in any way that he could. I remember I was talking to a friend on my cell phone one afternoon at my house, and I got a call that rang in. I told the person I was talking to, says, I got to go, Hank Aaron's calling me. And he called and he told me how proud he was of me and what our club had accomplished in that particular year. That meant so much to me coming from him. Hank epitomized what being an Atlanta Brave is, how he lived his life both on and off the field, always with class and grace. I'll miss the times he used to stop by. He'd come in my office and we'd just sit and talk. I'll miss the friend and the mentor that I had in my life. Hank, your legacy both on and off the field will live forever. My condolences to you, Billy, and the whole Aaron family. We've lost a great friend. May God bless you. Thank you.
Hank Aaron, a man that was the epitome of love. From every conversation, every handshake, and every smile, that's how he made me feel. A legend not only on the baseball field, but in life. God gave him the talent, and he used that talent to become the greatest baseball player of all time. But more importantly, he used it to make our city, our country, and the world a better place. For those who were blessed enough to know Hank, he left a lifetime of impact in every encounter. His life made you want to better your own. To the Aaron family, thank you. Thank you for sharing Hank with us so we could call him our own. One thing about legends is they live on forever. We love you, Hank.
Hammer, sorry I couldn't be there because I can't get a flight out in time to be with all my teammates and all the people that love you. I'll see you on Wednesday, but this is a very sad moment for me and my family. As you can tell, man, you're all over my house, in my heart, in my mind. You meant as much to me as anybody in my whole life. I just want to thank you, for giving me love, discipline. Sometimes, you had to tell me like it was, but I really, really appreciate it, and for helping me be the man, that I am. And I just want to thank you. It's going to be very, very difficult not to call you whenever I want to, or you call me, and me being extremely happy to, hear from you. So we all love you. We'll see you in heaven. And boy, this is very, very, very difficult. And to all the guys that are there, love y'all.
In April of 1974, I was 18 years old in my backyard in Portland, Oregon, probably working on my swing, when my mom called me and said, "Dale, get in here. Hank Aaron is about to break Babe Ruth's home run record." Imagine to my surprise, 2 months later, I was drafted by the Atlanta Braves. It's been the honor of a lifetime to be able to wear the same uniform that Hank Aaron wore. Hank's spirit permeated our whole organization. If you want to be a ball player, this is the way you play. If you want to represent your organization, this is how you act. If you want to serve your fellow man, this is what you do. Many of us have come up short in the not only on the field but off the field. But one couldn't ask for a greater example of how to carry yourself. As I have learned and as I grew older and understood the challenges that Hank faced in not only being a ball player, but serving his fellow man as well, my admiration and respect is beyond measure. I'll never understand how he did it and how he carried himself with such grace and dignity. But I'll always be thankful for the chance to rub shoulders with Hank Aaron. I felt something different when I was in his presence, and I've been around a lot of ball players that have achieved a lot of records, but there was something special about Hank. Hank was the epitome of how we should all be as human beings. I thank him for his example and for his mentorship throughout my career. And I know athletes can't achieve anything on the field or off without a great support group of family and friends. So to Billy and family and friends of Hank Aaron, Nancy and I pass our condolences and thoughts and prayers onto you at this time. We're so grateful for you and for the chance to be able again to be in the presence of Hank Aaron and you as well. Thank you so much. We pray God blessings upon you at this time. God bless, and again, thank you, Hank, for all you did for so many of us.
I was fortunate enough to meet Hank Aaron in 1987. 1987, I was in college at Florida A&M University, where I was coached by Robert Lucas, brother of Bill Lucas, former GM with the Atlanta Braves. Also, there was Larry Aaron, who was the outfield coach. One trip we were making from Tallahassee, Florida to North Carolina A&T, and Coach Robert Lucas said that we're going to stop in Atlanta and we're going to go by and see Hank Aaron. And in my mind, I'm like, yeah, right. And lo and behold, Larry told me, he's like, yeah, we're going to stop by and see my dad. And that was my first encounter with Henry Aaron. During that time to visit at his house, we had a chance to tour the house. He sat us all down and he talked to us one by one. And those famous 3 words came out of his mouth. You got to get your education. And if you get an opportunity, you do your very best. And he said, as a man, you're going to get one good opportunity in your lifetime. You'd be lucky if you get two. Those words on that trip to North Carolina A&T, from Atlanta to North Carolina A&T, they stuck with me, lit a fire inside of me that's still lit today. That's why I love and admire and respect Henry Aaron. We all talk about the numbers, the home runs, the stats, but I tell you, the man off the field was incredible. I never forget, as I journeyed through my career in baseball, we're running to him every now and then, and I told him, I said, once I finish playing, I'm gonna carry out that mission. I'm gonna start my own organization, and I'm gonna give the kids an opportunity to learn the game of baseball, get their education, and if they do get that opportunity, that they take advantage of it. There's no other athlete that I know that had an impact on my life and many other kids right here in the city of Atlanta to get them to that next level. I'll never forget, when I started my organization, I was trying my best to get Hank to come out and see what I was doing. I wanted to make him proud. I wanted him to see the work that I was doing. 2017, Henry Aaron came to my golf tournament, validated, put the stamp on what I was doing in the community. I learned that from him. That was his goal. That was one of my goals. I wanted to be like him. I wanted to dream like him. But to see what he endured and what he went through, for me as an athlete and as a person, I have no room to complain. And I can't thank him enough for the stories, the memories, and the influence and the impact that he had on my career. We as a nation, as a country, has lost a true legend and humanitarian. We'll miss you, Hank. We love you. Billy, we love you. Job well done. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Kendrick, president of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum in Kansas City, Missouri. Henry Aaron means the world to me. He is my all-time favorite Major League Baseball player. He is my childhood idol as a kid growing up in tiny Crawfordville, Georgia. All of 500 people, 80 miles east of Atlanta, 50 miles west of Augusta, right down Interstate 20. So I am tremendously honored and humbled to reflect on where his illustrious professional baseball career began, the Negro Leagues. My favorite photograph in the entire exhibition is a relatively nondescript photograph of a then 18-year-old Henry Aaron standing at the train station in Mobile, Alabama. And at his feet is a duffel bag. And when I had the opportunity to tour him through the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum for the first time in 1999, he told me, he says, Bob, I may have had 2 changes of clothes in that bag, $1.50 in my pocket, and a ham sandwich that my mama had made me, going to go chase that dream, headed to the Indianapolis Clowns, a skinny, cross-handed hitting shortstop. When he gets to the Clowns, they put the right hand on top, and the rest, as they say, is history. He would shortly after be discovered by the Boston Braves, who would become the Milwaukee Braves, who would become my beloved Atlanta Braves. And Henry Aaron will go down in this game as one of his all-time greatest players. But more importantly, Henry Aaron will go down in the annals of American history as one of the greatest human beings to ever walk the face of this earth. So on behalf of our team here at the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, I extend my heartfelt condolences to the Aaron family, and particularly Mrs. Aaron, for sharing my childhood idol and giving me an opportunity to touch greatness. God bless each and every one of you, and thank you so much.
It's a tremendous honor for me to be here today and speak about the life and career of Henry Aaron. It's also very scary standing up here. I respected the man so much. I wouldn't want to disappoint him or his family. A lot of people don't know this story, but Hank was very instrumental in me becoming an Atlanta Brave. As the 1990 draft approached, the room of Braves decision makers was split on who they were going to take with their first pick. As legendary scout Paul Snyder once told me, vote came around to Hank, and he paused, and he looked at everybody in the room, and he said, "Y'all better draft that Jones boy." Never forget that. That comment must have carried some weight. I put a picture out on social media the other day. It was of myself and Hank. He was perched up on the bench behind the batting cage in spring training. I had stopped to exchange some pleasantries with him, and as I looked out towards the field, the camera caught him looking down on me with a look of, "I knew you could do it, and I am so proud of you," almost like a doting father. I cherished every single one of my interactions with him through the years. Whenever he walked into the room, part of me said, "Boy, leave that man alone." But the other half said, "That's Hank Aaron, and that's a true hero. And he deserves the respect of you going up and greeting him." I always tend to listen to my other half. If you ever wanted to get Hank talking, you just had to ask him anything about hitting. Seemed pretty fitting, right? I can remember a conversation about our bats. He liked a big bat, much like I did. He liked his his weight a little more evenly distributed. I was more of a top-heavy guy. Early in my career, I asked him if when he walked to the plate, was he ever intimidated? You gotta remember, facing Gibson, Koufax, Drysdale, guys like that, pretty intimidating. He said, "Tipper, I fear no man when I have a bat in my hand." This is me making a mental note of that conversation. I've been asked many times in the last few days to describe Henry Aaron in one word. Without hesitation, that one word is simply beautiful. The swing, the smile, and the spirit, all beautiful. My senior quote in high school read, "When God measures man, he puts the tape around the heart and not the head." I think we all know how big Hank's heart was. Some of the stuff he dealt with while playing would have adversely affected most players. Not Hank. The desire and determination he displayed is legendary. He just merely pushed it aside for the time being and went out and performed at a galactic all-star level. Yes, the rest of us were mere earthlings. I am one who believes that Henry Aaron's popularity and legacy multiplied after retirement. He's been a long-time supporter of many civil rights organizations, and along with his wife, Billy, co-founded the Hank Aaron Chasing the Dream Foundation. This foundation has awarded hundreds of scholarships to underprivileged youth all over the United States. You want to talk about giving back? You want to talk about leaving a legacy? He set the perfect example for everyone in Atlanta Braves organization on how to deal with adversity. You just spread a little grace on it, and you go play ball. Keep swinging, as he would say. I feel that if Hank were to have one last message for all of us, it would be to respect each other, to help each other, and to keep love in your heart. Hammer, you are a transcendent baseball player, but you're also a transcendent figure in American history. We are so gonna miss you. I speak for everyone affiliated with the Braves organization. We will continue to spread your good word and make sure your legacy continues to flourish. Thank you.
sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. Through many dangers, toils and snares, he has already come. 'Twas grace that brought him safe thus far, and grace will lead him home.
The thing that people should know about Henry is how good a player he was, how good an all-around player he was. That's one of the most overlooked aspects of his career.
At the time he called it quits, Aaron was second all-time in runs and hits and had more home runs, RBIs, and total bases than anyone who ever played the game, a tribute to the remarkable quality and consistency of his career.
The way to fame is like the way to heaven, through much tribulations. It had been for me, to quote a very popular song, a long and winding road.
He was a pillar of strength, and if anybody, black, white, red, or Technicolor has a problem, you can look at Henry Aaron and say, look at the strength he had.
I think that people can look at me and say, you know, he was a great baseball player, but he was even a greater human being.
Before I end this beautiful celebration, I wanted to share something special with you, especially with you, Billy. Hank's lifelong passion was to increase minority participation in baseball, whether that was on the field, in baseball operations, on the business side of the front office, or at Major League Baseball. I'm happy to announce the Braves are forming the Henry Louis Aaron Fund inside the Braves Foundation and seeding the first $1 million. And I'm thrilled that Major League Baseball and the Major League Players Association are each adding $500,000 apiece for another $1 million. So we will seed it with $2 million. So thank you, Rob, for taking the front position on that. And I'd like to ask Rob to say a quick hello.
I know I speak for Tony Clark when I say that this donation is a small symbol of the great respect that we both have for Hank Aaron and of our strong desire to continue the good work that he did throughout his life, particularly with encouraging minority participation in baseball. So, Billy, again, our condolences to you.
I believe this is just the beginning of this growing fund. In fact, I'm sure it's just the beginning. I'm certain other companies and organizations who worked with Hank over the years will join in this call and add to the talent and increase in diversity on the field and in the front offices across the league. Billy, we have many more ways we are going to honor Hank, and we will be announcing some of these things shortly. But rest assured, Henry Louis Aaron will always be a Brave and will always be so fondly remembered. Thank you all for being here, And for those watching at home, please know that we are all sharing these memories, laughs, and oh yes, tears together. Thank you all for being here today.
And we have been watching